Okay, let's start calling the meeting to order. This is, I know it's November, but this is the December meeting since we have to move it up a little bit to stay ahead of the county board meeting. So could I have a roll call, please?
Harrow,
Here.
McKee,
Here.
Hendricks,
Here.
Gill,
Here.
Woodhouse, Fleming, Brookins.
Here.
Have five for a quorum, sir.
All righty, great. And do we comply with the open meetings?
Yes, it's been posted correctly, sir.
Great. All right, motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Right. McKee and McGill. Second. All those in favor of the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Minutes from the last meeting. Any comments or concerns about that? Okay, we'll call them good as presented then. Okay, public comment. Got a lot of visitors today. Any public comment at this time?
I just have a question. When it gets down to the item that we're interested in, could we ask questions?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay, now we're on to the zoning petitions and Hagenson, is that how I'm pronouncing it?
Yep.
So you want to do this go down?
So. They have 21.08 acres that was zoned as ag forestry. And they came in to put up another building, so we just asked that they rezone it to ag residential to be compliant with
Sure.
zoning ordinance.
Did you folks have anything else you wanted to add or say about it? Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. So we have a motion to approve Mr. McKee and Elaine. Okay, is there any other questions or concerns on that? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. This is unanimous.
It'll go to the December 10th county board meeting. Once it's through there, then everything's,
We need to attend that.
if you want to, you can, but you don't have to.
Can we start building before the county board meeting?
Have you gotten the permit from us downstairs? Okay. And I think everything else is in line.
Yep.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you for coming. Okay, next is Wild Hills Real Estate and Winery.
So currently zoned as ag forestry and ag residential in that area that they own. They're looking to add some short-term rentals to the property and keep the winery going. So, looks like they're rezoning it to commercial for that reason.
And then Mr. Hellerson, that he's on the line.
Did anyone want to speak further to that? Online or other?
Can you guys hear me? I'm Aaron Halverson here.
Yep, we hear you.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I'm in a hotel room, so it's not easy getting in. But yeah, I'm just as she mentioned, we have one cabin we've recently built. It's just about ready for rental. And under current law, you need to either have a conditional use permit or be zoned commercial, is my understanding. So so we have that one rental, and it's possible we could do others in the future. Plus, just because we have Wild Hills Winery there, I think we might currently have some type of a variance or conditional use permit for it, but I think it probably should be zoned commercial anyway. And then all parcels of the winery, people are walking around for vineyard tours, drinking, and I just feel like it makes sense to just have everything zoned commercial. So, so that's really the purpose of the request to be rezoned.
Okay. Anybody on the committee have any questions, comments?
Maybe there's other people that have.
Oh, yes.
I object if my land joins them.
And I don't want any more wineries over there with buildings. He's already running it illegally because he hasn't been commercial. He's been selling wine out there for many years already. And my land goes all the way, I've got 100 acres that's all the way along his. And I object to any more. He wants to put up 5 more buildings, I understand. And I object to that. I'm
Okay,
tired of the noise over there, and I don't want any drinking all over the place over there. And I want to have my land surveyed too, because I don't think the lines are I know they're not where they're supposed to be, because my line going down Indian Creek Road to the south is 16, my land is to be 16 more feet into that other property, which would go back to the 4 corners of his, which would align that all around. And he's objected to help me rezone that, pay for it.
you're free to,
And I've been on a farm since 1959. My husband bought it 57.
you're free to resurvey your land anytime you want, right?
Yeah, I know that, yeah.
Okay.
And we have no buildings near her property line.
What?
We have no buildings near your property line. So I don't know what you're saying. I'm trying to do illegally. I'm just trying to follow the law here. I believe
You're
I
already
am.
selling wine.
Yeah, we are selling wine and we do have a legal state permit for that.
It's not zoned commercial for that.
Well, the zoning ordinance says that ag-related businesses are allowed under ag forest, and a winery and a vineyard would be ag-related business. So I think doesn't necessarily need to be commercial.
Well, what does he want 5 more buildings?
Well, that's why he's asking to go zone commercial if he wants
What are
to
they
expand.
for?
Pardon me?
What are they for?
Well, you have to ask him.
Yeah, I mean, there's no definite plans for any more buildings, but we have the one as you've seen. And as you're probably very happy to see, we're not coming in through your property. We're coming in on our own property. There's a possibility.
Farmland, that's what our township voted on years ago when Alabama was, we're supposed to leave it in farmland.
I don't know what.
That's farmland when you put buildings all over it.
Anyway, so besides that one building, there's a possibility that we'll do another tasting room. It would be very far from your property. And I think you have no right to say whether I can or cannot build within a very far distance from your property line. But that's why I'm here, I guess. But that's not even why I'm getting this at this time. It's a possibility that we'll build a tasting room up at our view. But this time it's really just to zone everything commercial. And, you know, and the biggest reason is because we have that cabin we'd like to start legally renting out.
Further
You ruined
comments?
my
Go ahead.
driveway over there by that.
I didn't hear that.
You ruined my end of the property where you put that house.
I ruined it? In what way?
The driveway all out, yeah.
There is no driveway there.
No, there was on my land where the driveway went up through there, because our deer hunter used to park there, and they make ruts in there, like, you couldn't even drive a truck in there now.
Yeah, I did that for your benefit, but because I put a pile of rocks so that no one would use that.
After it was all washed out.
In order to keep people from being on your land, I actually did put like a pile of rocks so people wouldn't use that access. That was actually for you. I can certainly move it. But that's
Can I
and
say
that's
something?
Yes.
Let's not get into a debate here. We took your comment and we'll take that into consideration. And you had a comment as well, sir?
Yes, my question is, zoned differently.
Could you speak up,
If it's
please?
commercial zoning, then are there any restrictions, or does he just have carte blanche to do whatever, or do things need to be, I mean, that just seems like if you zone commercial, there's, you know, do what you want to do, and I don't just wondered, the intent of zoning in our township was not for only, it was only for a certain amount of acres per dwelling. And I think this goes against that, and it's just zone commercial. Are there any restrictions with zone commercial?
there are restrictions on the commercial as listed in our ordinance.
And put up 5 guest houses. Does each one of them have its own septic system? Does it, each one of them need a well? We're starting to develop property in different way than agriculture. Just wondering how all that runs together.
My understanding, anytime, if you're going to put up with the sanitation part of it, we don't regulate the well part of it. We do the zoning part of it that regulate the sanitary, following state rules, and if they're going to have, depending how things are built, if they're going to have running water in there, they need some kind of septic system. Either it's a shared one, depending on how far apart, all that stuff, how they can connect it, or each would have to have a separate one.
Yeah, should those cabins actually happen, they would definitely be regulated that way.
So I guess my statement is, I think zoning commercial just becomes too wide open, too broad. We're an adjoining property. Our whole farm stays in agriculture. I know that the winery's an ag-related business, it's fine. It just, there's gotta be, I think zoning commercial just gives way too much crap.
Yes, well, I live right next to the winery. And I kind of feel awful, like Jim, about the open house commercial. Who's to say he couldn't put up a mega store somewhere? And, you know, there's gotta be some boundaries. And Aaron and I are friends, the way that we thought about that. I just don't, just the tax base, I mean, the impact on it's still lower than how we have it right now. Still on. You know. They're still listening. He's.
I had a hard time hearing you, sir.
Is Aaron still?
I'm still here. I had a hard time hearing you too, though, Ron.
Did you hear what I said?
I didn't. I hear you now.
So my thought is, you know, once you put it, I mean, what's to stop you from putting up package stores? You know, I mean,
Putting up what? Putting up what?
putting up a bigger store, you know, store.
I mean, maybe nothing. I mean, I have to get a building permit and pass all inspections and do everything by law. But, I mean, that's my understanding of how it would be no matter what it was zoned.
And tax wise, property tax.
Yeah, I looked into that. It's taxed identically because that was actually a concern of mine, was if I zoned it commercial, would that be a higher or lower, you know, on my existing parcels? And I talked to the appraiser himself, and he said whether it's zoned commercial or not, it doesn't matter at all. It's only how you use it. Like it's just his own judge of how it's used. So if it's commercial but it's zoned or ag, it's still, he's treating it still as ag. And you know, if I put up a building, you know, it's whatever it's used for, and he assigns the property, you know, the assessed value and everything based on that. So, you know, whether it's commercial or not, it has no bearing on the taxes.
Okay. All right.
And most everything, a lot of the stuff with, looking at our zoning ordinance, the commercial, some of the stuff that was talking about doing would require him to come in and get a conditional use permit to put certain things up.
In other words, there would be further points at which we'd have to consider whether it's reasonable use or not. But for now, what his rezone request does, it complies with our ordinance. So Questions, comments from the committee?
I just say it's important that we support our local businesses and balance the concerns of our residents. And if there are serious concerns, we want to know about them. But I guess I have not heard of any claims about Wild Hills or any kind of issues with the
We
neighbors.
don't live by them.
Right, I've been there, so.
Yeah, probably drink it. Out in the hill, yeah.
Yeah, so are there serious issues that you want to relate to the committee?
Our township voted years ago, now not be voted on, to keep it in farmland. That's what it's supposed to stay in, is farmland.
Well, yeah, this is the committee that determines what, you know, what's zoned and what can be
And we
put.
had a neighbor down over the hill from me a few years back, wanted to put in a winery too thing. And our neighbors all got together, got a petition up and made it all turn down. Which I'm not able to do anymore, or I would have done that.
I live right next to the winery and I have no problem.
Yeah.
Say.
Yeah, Ron is like within like 150 feet of our tasting room.
Yeah.
It's gotta be kind of on the friendly side, but yeah.
But I have no problem.
All right. All right, so we've heard the public comment. Again, I don't see anything that goes against the ordinance. And if further development happens, the CUP would be at that point where we would again consider whether it's still keeping with the ordinance or not. So I'm going to ask for a motion to approve. Mr. McKee, Gill. All those in favor, say aye.
I'm
Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's go.
So this is in Ithaca. And it looks like they're going from farmland preservation to residential. And I think it's just because they had it or they had a CSF done, creating that parcel that's smaller, taking it out of that farmland preservation.
And this is, again, the one, Ithaca's the ones where they have to come through here and the county board.
They have their own zoning, but as a legal thing, it still has to come through our committee, so we're just kind of following through on that. So again, a motion to approve. Courthouse. So, any other questions or comments? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Oh, highway department. Let's hear about that one.
So this is also in Ithaca, going from ag residential to just residential. It's a 2-acre parcel that they're putting up a cell tower on for the emergency
The 911
response.
system.
So they just had to have it rezoned per the Ithaca zoning ordinance for that.
All right, need a motion. Mr. McKee, moves to approve. Need a second. Mr. Woodhouse. I have a question. Again, I've not read their zoning ordinance, but why, if you put a cell tower up, apparently it's approved under residential, but not ag forest? Doesn't that seem odd?
I think it's the acreage, it's the size of the acreage.
Oh, that's it, just because of the size of the acreage?
I think that's probably it.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
guessing.
And it's property highway department owns.
Correct. Because when they redid, Keysville at all, when they redid all that whole intersection up there. that that was where the road used to go.
Okay.
And they moved it over, so they still own that property to the road.
Any other questions or comments from the committee? All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, cleared that one. Okay, the reports now, the zoning administrator report. What do you got?
Nothing too crazy. We've had 6 sanitary permits issued, 7 land use permits issued, so it's slowing down quite a bit. It's getting colder.
Yeah.
That's kind of all we had.
We interviewed one gentleman for the position, but you know, this is Katrina's last day. We interviewed for one person, and we like, Justin and I kind of went this, and he ended up taking a job with somebody else. We had an interview on Friday, and we've got interviews coming up, 2 interviews this afternoon. Justin and I do, so see how it goes. I have not gotten I haven't heard yet whether I got my permits, my licenses or not. So hoping, a gal came in the office that works for a plumbing company, and she said it took about 6 weeks this last time when they're, so keep your fingers crossed.
Do we know if any of these candidates have theirs?
No, they don't.
They don't. And
No, that-
we give them how much time?
A year.
A year, okay.
What's other things? We're gonna be mailing out every year the non-metallic mines. We have to send out a letter to them, and they have to come back with a report of open acreage. You know, how much mining they're done or gonna be doing, and then they're charged a fee, DNR fee, and a county fee based on that. So we'll be sending them out probably next week, and then hopefully getting them in, get them in by the beginning of February, so we can get the money to the state, send the report in. Derek is gonna be working on going out doing mine inspections. We have to inspect some of the mines to make sure that things are, you know, reclaiming anything, it's being, as they're going, reclaimed correctly. And then I'm going to have him, we're gonna sit down and figure out what the cost is to do certain parts of the mine reclamation. So we can figure out if the financial assurances are enough, or we'd have to ask for an increase in financial assurance. We need to do that every so many years. And I don't know when the last time it was done, so now's a good time to do it while we're just starting out.
Again, question on a new zoning administrator. Until we have someone who's licensed, can we utilize Matt again, or what would?
I don't know, right now, I don't know if they've hired anybody in Vernon County for the county conservationist job. So he's kind of doing dual duty. So I don't know. We have also got Jeff Brubaker, that's his name, right? Brubaker, at the state level. But hopefully we won't have many sanitary, mostly for the sanitary, and hopefully we won't have many going in this till like I get my license or whatever. So
Fingers crossed.
fingers crossed.
Okay.
You know, that's one thing, at least it's a slower time of the year, so that helps.
So on your county conservationist, anything else you want to add on that?
The county, we are looking at, and she'll talk a little bit more about it, Corey. Well, we had the first part of the class for the nutrient management planning for landowners to do their own. We may have 10 to 15, possibly. We're setting up in February for the second part of the class where they actually sit down and work on the plan themselves. We will be mailing out probably early December the self-compliance form that we have them do every year. And then she'll talk more about the next steps in that process. Derek, the technician, has basically finished up most projects that are going in, but he's working on going out and doing survey work and at projects for next year. And we're just working on cleaning up the files and stuff, so.
So I guess building off of that, going into the new year, kind of want to go over the process. I want to start like standardized implementation of handling non-compliance issues.
That's
within
kind of the item D.
the, oh yeah, we're not there yet.
No.
Oh, I thought you were saying I go now.
So we want to try to let Adam do his thing first?
Yeah. Well,
Okay,
I'm-
okay, go ahead, Adam.
So I'll keep it relatively short. Last time I told you I was gonna do a report and put it in the packet. Well, it didn't get done this time because our reporting cycle ends today, so just the way that this meeting came up early, that's why you don't have an extension report from us this time. But just some things to go over since we last met. 4-H, the grant, we're moving forward. That all went through county board last week. So we're really excited about working on creating the program for that AmeriCorps worker and really expanding some of the STING programs and the HUTOS program with schools, 4-H. Our human relationship development educator, Sarah, she's actually been starting to do some financial education at Passages and starting to work on some programs for individuals at the library. So it's just really starting to ramp up some of those. Been doing a lot of financial training now she's able to take those trainings. She's been doing the first couple months while she's been here and starting to apply them out into the county. So that's really cool. She'll finish her financial coaching training in January. So after that point, she'll actually be able to go to have a workshop on this personal finances, et cetera. And then we'll start to offer individual coaching. So different members of the community that are struggling can sign up with her, come and have an initial meeting, and then she'll do follow-ups with them periodically to make sure that they're hitting their targets and making themselves more financially stable. So I think that's a really cool program to kind of go right now with her. Our ag educator, Beth, she has a program in conjunction with Equity on December 3rd for a quality beef program. Anastasia, who is our part-time crops and soils, I believe she's helping you guys a little bit with nutrient management programming. The two of them too are also getting together and creating a Richland County newsletter that we're going to have available here shortly for ag producers in Richland County, so they can get the information and stuff from the university, even though neither one of them are directly housed here, trying to be as well connected to the producers as we can.
That's one thing too, if once they get going, if they have a link, I could put on our Facebook page to that, so that other people, see if people.
How does that newsletter get distributed or?
So they're primarily, the first couple issues, they probably will do print, but they really want to make it just an email newsletter. So it's something that just kind of goes directly to producers. We also work with a program that's called Emma. And so within that, it helps us keep data and statistics on what people are viewing and seeing, and people want to join up and subscribe. So there's some other ways to help us collect data and get the programming out there that we really need to get out to people.
But how are people on the current email list? That's what.
So it's being built.
Okay.
So it's going to be, that's why the first couple runs will be, here's paper, here's a QR code or an email to sign up for this if you want it that way. That'll also be shared on our Facebook website. There's some different ways, but really they want it to be a kind of a direct connection to producers. And again, like I said, there's some features within our system, like you can tag what articles got viewed the most. And so though, by the interest coming from that, it'll help them help with their future programming or new articles to put into the article.
And the first one you said would be?
They're working on it now, so hopefully the first of the year they'll get somewhere started with that.
Great.
And then food wise, you guys listened to Monica a couple weeks ago. She's continuing to work on that project and again working with the schools and what grades she's at right now on nutrition and tasting lessons. So just a real quick overview of what we've done in the last, I guess, 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks since we last met. Yeah.
Monica showed up at the food pantry when she was handing these out.
Mhm.
So when I went to scan this code, because I was helping somebody in the parking lot, it didn't come up right, so.
It didn't?
No, so I was gonna give this to you before you leave, so you can take a look.
And we've noticed that some of the QR code generators you use, you gotta make sure that some of them only have a short time and some of them are an infinite time, so.
Getting it to go to Google Docs, and I tried it through the camera lens, and then I also tried it through the Google, search browser area, and both times it did it.
Gotcha.
I'll try again.
Oh, we'll look into it, and Elaine, if you have any questions, just give a call, say, hey, Monica, you in? He loves talking to the public.
I just love her.
Any other questions for extension programming?
Thanks.
Thanks.
A couple of quick things before I go into Corey. Our tree sale is up and going. The link is for Square to go buy the trees is on the county website under land conservation. There's one for tree sales, so if you know anybody interested. The second part of it is that I forgot is Jen and I are working on trying to set up. We used to have be part of the conservation poster contest, and we're starting that up again. So we're going to send things out to area schools to have a contest, and we may be calling on a couple of you to, if you're interested, coming in and judging posters sometime in January. So there we go. Sorry about that. Just
No, it's good to hear. Okay, now we're on to the farmland information.
So yeah, kind of building on what Kathy had touched on, we'll be sending out the self-certification compliance forms early December. The deadline to have those turned in January 31st, we're gonna set, so they got about a month and a half. Then we'll send out a second notice early February, due end of March, and then they turn it in late, increased filing fee as usual, but those filing fees went up a little bit. And so then building on how to handle non-compliance, one thing, if they don't submit their self-certification form, they're technically out of compliance. And same with the nutrient management plan we were talking about. We set a deadline for June 30th that those should be submitted. Those are both things, if not submitted to our office, there's terms to file a notice of non-compliance, which makes them ineligible to claim the tax credit for the program. And I guess standardized process for how we're going to handle issuing these notices of non-compliance. First, there is like a voluntary waiver of rights on this. We'll first offer that up to them. If they want to voluntarily agree to refrain from claiming the tax credit, they can just sign that. Just go to DATCAP and Department of Revenue, and then they'll just temporarily, until they wish to get back into compliance, just can't claim the tax credit. If they are in violation of some compliance issues, whether it be they didn't submit this certain stuff, or we had some resource concern out on the farm that doesn't meet the standards, we would first develop a performance schedule of compliance, where we're not issuing this yet, but we set a time frame for them to come in to compliance. I think if they don't submit a nutrient management plan, that'll be just like a 6-month time frame. If it's a bigger issue of concern, we'll give them more like a year, up to 5 years to get back into compliance. And then if at the end of that deadline, they're meeting the standards yet, that is when we will issue this. And this will have to come to committee. We will discuss the concerns, and the committee has to sign this. And landowner has the right to appeal so they would come to that committee meeting where we're discussing this all. I guess we will give them, our department can offer technical and financial assistance to some degree, depending on what we have available, to help them get back into compliance. So we will offer them assistance. If they just haven't come back into compliance, then that is when this will be issued. They still can get back into the program, but they must submit a nutrient management plan and meet the standards via a farm inspection visit. And at that point, if we think they have, got back into compliance, we can issue a cancellation of this notice of noncompliance. That all goes to DACAP and Department of Revenue. Once that is official, they then can claim the tax credit again. But that is kind of the steps we would go through. First, offer voluntary waiver of rights. They can sign that. If they wish to not do that, we'll then do this performance schedule of compliance. If they still aren't meeting standards by then we will issue this notice of noncompliance.
And that would come to this committee as you would be the one that would be finalizing whether it is in compliance or not. You're the appeal committee. So then we'd bring them in and they would talk to you and you would decide whether they've done everything they can to get into compliance. So
Question, since I've been on the committee, I don't recall us having one come to the committee.
we've not,
Does it sound like there's some that may be coming to us?
yeah, when COVID hit, things kind of, they were having a hard time getting people to come out and do plans, helping them out, the nutrient management plans and stuff. So it was hard to go out and visit because they didn't want to, to visit with them because of and so things just kind of slipped by. And so now we used to do some of this, but we haven't done it for a long time.
So the clock's ticking on at least some.
Yeah.
At least we'll be, as we're trying to implement these standards more and keeping a better track of everything, we will be having more, I think, non-compliance issues actually brought to attention. So I would expect maybe some notices of non-compliance coming
Okay.
to committee.
So yes,
How many, can you give a sense how many in this program basically is huge numbers, or what are we talking about?
It's hard to say because some people have multiple, every certificate's under, it has to be the right parcel numbers, the right name. If it's Elaine Hendricks owns 40 acres and Elaine M. Hendricks owns 40, and Elaine and Greg, you own, each one is a separate one. So it could be one, it's really technically one person, but it's 3 certificates. So we have about 350 to 400 certificates.
So it is kind of tricky.
It is
I
kind of
could look at acreage amount that's covered under all of those, but I don't know that off the top of my head.
could I request that if you could set a link to our committee on the nutrient management plan guidelines and things so that we can be a little more up to speed.
Yeah.
That way we can do a little homework, be better prepared.
Yeah, it'll be what they need to meet
Yes.
compliance for farmland preservation.
Yep.
These are all the things they need to be in compliance with.
Right.
Yep.
Great. I'll read them too, so.
Question. Did you get guidance from outside in developing this procedure, or how did that go about? Because I want to preface that by saying thank you for putting in some focus groups here.
Yeah.
It's great when we have a non-compliance issue that there is an appeal process and there's a method for understanding further, whether this is what the situation is. If it's something technical that happened, or is it an outright act of defiance to the ordinance and, into the, so thank you for doing that. I'm just curious how you came about this procedure.
Yeah, so the standards themselves are all, both state, like at Cap 50 is the standard. Nutrient management specifically is covered under NRCS Nutrient Management
Right.
Standard Code 590. And then it's all of the different standards, but those are all like that are found in the like self-compliance form we send out. These are all DAT-CAP created forms, so State Department of Agriculture. Also implementation of like the non-compliance, all, I guess, directed by DAT-CAP. But I have also had a mentorship with Sauk County's Melissa Schlupp. She runs their farmland preservation program, and I've kind of went out with her, did farm inspections with her. And also she's sent me, I guess, how they handle theirs. And it is all, I mean, even in the standards, it says, like that performance schedule of compliance. You should develop one of those, give people the time to get back into compliance. Nothing is, straight to the point, but it is all guided by like the DAT-CAP standards. And it is.
Very similar to what neighboring.
Oh, yeah. And we used to, I've been here long enough. We used to do that in the past, and then they changed the farm preservation stuff and then added more things to it. And then they had 5 years to get compliance. We were working with people, and then COVID hit and things got, but this is kind of what we kind of did last time. And so when she came up with stuff, I'm like, yep. So she and I went through it Friday, or what she had put together.
Thank you.
Okay, 8E, legal and illegal non-conforming parcels.
Last month you asked us to come up with numbers, and I went and looked, and we currently have 215 legal non-conforming, which is nothing we can do about. They're legal, but there's legal non-conforming, and then there's 52 illegal non-conforming. I don't quite understand how the illegal, I can see what happened, but legal non-conforming, I'm not sure. I wasn't part of this, so I have no idea, and I don't think there's anything we can do about those. That they are. The hardest part is now if they come in for a permit, what zoning code do you use to, I mean, that's the hardest part. Which, are they commercial? Are they, so we have to be, that's the part I don't know, and I don't know how that's something we'll have to talk about, but the legal non-conforming, there's 215. Don't know how they were created, but our hands are kind of tied. They're legal. Illegal non-conforming, we've kind of talked about it, is when we're going to, that's when they're legal, then that's when they're coming in for a permit.
Catch them.
We catch them, then we can get them right in the correct zoning district.
So on that, though, I do have a question. I kind of wanted to hear everyone's opinion on. So we have a CSM for a small parcel that's classified as legally non-conforming, and they're adding like 0.28 acres to that small parcel. So that'll be a 0.28 acre parcel. So the question is, do we have them rezone that legal non-conforming with the 0.28, or just have it 0.28 as residential and then have the other one as legal non-conforming? Because if we change it from legal non-conforming to residential, it's not going to affect anything. It's just going to be complying with the ordinance. And so I just didn't know if we make them do it, or because it's legally non-conforming, we don't have to force them to do that one. But then again, in my opinion, it makes sense to just do both of them at the same time, because then they don't have to pay 2 separate fees when they, sometime in the future we start making people rezone.
It's really that's the, I understand, these were put in, my understanding is they were put into place before zoning or whatever. I'm not sure, which doesn't make sense either. Or they weren't zoned at the time that the zoning came into effect. I don't know. So I was, I don't know if it's something we could talk to our attorney Wendell about, or like should those become, what do we do?
This raises a question I've had in the past, and I just had this impression that all that land in the whole county has some kind of parcel. And I would have thought somewhere in the dusty file, there's something that would explain when and how something. But
There's binders that say that they researched it and they have a little checkbox next to it, whether it's illegal or legal. And I think there's a date that goes along with that. So there is, I think there's 2 binders.
Yeah, there is, but it doesn't really explain anything.
It doesn't explain
Yeah.
why it was done
Yeah,
that way or anything. It just says whether or not it is and the date.
so we have what we have.
Yeah, yep. But I guess my main question was just, what should I tell this person? You know, is it up to them or should I say like, it might be in your best interest to have them both rezoned? Since you're already going through the process.
That sounds, again, just my opinion, but that sounds like the way to go, but we're setting a precedent. And what are the implications? I don't have a feel for that.
Yeah, I don't think, because they're legal, I don't think we can make them do it, but we can ask them to do it.
And it might be to their benefit.
Because right now with those, it's like, what do we, okay, which do we, they come in for a building permit, is it under, we do it as what says under ag forestry, ag residential, residential 1, residential 2, or commercial?
Can we ask why they ended up with a 0.28 acre?
So it's because they have roughly 1 acres and their septic system failed. And the only way that they could replace it was using their neighbor's land
Got it.
because they had such little space. So they needed to add that 0.28 acres to fit the septic system in. So now they're gonna have 2 very small parcels that they own. And one will be legal non-conforming and one would be residential. So that's why on my phone call with her, I said, we would recommend, you know, you do it all at once, but it's not necessarily required. So I just wanted to see what everyone else thought.
Thoughts from the committee?
I think doing it at the same time makes perfect sense, you know, and not requiring it, but explaining that there's benefits to it that, you know, sure, if you do anything in the future, it's just gonna be a problem or whatever. But I would think, but I don't think we require that necessarily.
No, that's,
I would agree with that. I mean, we can make the recommendations and explain that it's, you know, it's non-conforming, we'd like to just give it that technical definitions. So it's just.
So you're asking for an opinion.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I told her I would get, you know, a bigger opinion on it, so I wasn't making the decision for her.
Sounds like the general sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, here we go.
yeah, you go ahead, you and Candace, I wasn't there, so.
Okay, so item 9 on our agenda, short-term rental ordinance. In your, in the packet, I don't know if it made the public website yet, but in our iPads, some folks who are short-term rental owners got together and looked at our ordinance, have some comments, questions, input. Looks like useful and nothing that really jumped out at me as a problem, but we need to make sure we all have looked at it and decide if we're okay with the markups they gave, or we need to look into them and ask questions back, or what do you guys want to do? What do you think about this marked up ordinance? And again, it was Aaron that spearheaded the effort to try to get feedback from owners and sent this in, and even caught some typos, so that's good. And I'd also like to see what you guys think in zoning on the market, how you feel about what they've suggested. Not hearing a lot of input yet.
Yeah, this is Aaron Halverson. I guess I'm just standing by. There was about, I'd say 10 to 11 short-term rental owners that, yeah, we met and just kind of went through our concerns throughout and, you know, tried to forwarded that to Steve Carroll with kind of our thoughts on them, most of them. And yeah, just if you guys got any concerns with any of our changes, I think there's probably some people there that, you know, can speak to why, and I can as well. So we're just happy to hear any feedback you guys have, and we can discuss any certain item that you might not like.
Chair Carroll, this is Bob Frank. If I could ask.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, thank you. So I also sent you a document. I could not send it to everybody because I felt it might be a walking quorum by sending it to all the committee members. And as a county board member, that was one of my concerns, and that's why I sent it to you. So I was also in that meeting with the short-term rental owners, and definitely some concerns here. And I guess some of mine are how will this work? How does it work? There's already state licensing. The Airbnb or the short-term rentals already have to go through state licensing and state permits and state checks. What does this do, and why? You know, we obviously don't have a fee for it either. And I guess one of my comments is if this even goes through, and I think we need to have more discussion on this, maybe even beyond today. What should that fee be? Because at this point, it looks like it's a rubber stamp, much like you would do for sanitary permits when you're getting your tank pumped or something, which is $25 every 3 years. I'm not sure what more this does than that at this point.
Bob, I'll point out a couple of things. Our thinking with this, when this started last year, was that yes, the state covers a lot of stuff, the safety, all those kind of things, but we thought there were a few areas having to do more with just being a good neighbor, things that weren't exactly mentioned in the state requirement that might be nice to have. And then the other piece was just so we know, just so we have on record what all's going on in the county. And so we tried not to duplicate anything that was in the state licensing requirements. We were trying to just add a few things that we thought would help with in case there was a complaint or a neighbor did have a concern, that we could have a mechanism to respond where we actually had an ordinance. So that's where it's at. The other thing, if going forward, I think this license would be what would be done instead of a CUP, right? And so it wouldn't be a double fee. It would just be the one.
In the zoning ordinance, under most of the, I can't think the exact word, but under most of the zoning districts, there is something, it's a CUP in, that they have to get for, I don't know what they call it, recreational tourist house, I think is what it's called. I think is that's what they're calling it in there. So according to our zoning ordinance, they're supposed to get a conditional use permit to put those in.
Right. And if we decided to go with this license, we just change that. Possibly.
Well, I mean, you know, that'd be a part of one of the changes to the zoning ordinance.
Right.
Yeah, so I think our hope was that, which came up at the last kind of judicial committee or whatever that was called, but yeah, if you approved our changes and sent it to that committee to decide whether or not to send it to the final, like, full county board, I guess we're hoping that you also have the other ordinance that Kathy was just referring to, where I think it was tourist boarding house, where you kind of pull that or you revise that ordinance so that, you know, they're both going together, and then it's kind of like, you know, they can decide whatever they want, but we're hoping that, they'll approve both change, they'll approve the new ordinance and the changes to the other one kind of right at the same time. So they just kind of go together, and we just know there's not like a period of time where there's like, maybe you have to do both, and, we'd hate to see that.
Does that feel like something you guys could make happen where we transition from doing a COP to a license?
Well, that'd be something, we're talking about possibly updating the current zoning ordinance. That would be something that you guys, would it be addressed at that point?
Yeah.
If you went with this too, there's other things. But like I said, right now it's listed as a conditional use permit.
Right.
Under all the zoning districts, so.
Yeah, my question is, has there been issues with the short-term rentals in our county that this came out of basically, or was just something that we were trying to address?
As I recall, no, there were not issues. What came up was the fact that we were aware there were at least some folks that were doing short-term rentals but weren't even licensed by the state. And we wanted to try to see if we could get a handle on that. That's how it started.
And is our zoning group going to administer this? I guess, do they have resources and depending on how much, work there is involved with, keeping up with the compliance of all our short-term rentals, are they staffed or whatever to, reasonably manage?
Yeah. Again, the full compliance for things at the state level is state enforced. In terms of this, it's like any other ordinance. It's kind of up to landowners to do what's right, and we'll have to do some effort to put the word out that this is a new thing. But after that, no, we don't have the resources to go out and chase things down. With that,
Chair Carroll, this is Bob again.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So you mentioned the licensing question, that there's some in the county that don't have licenses. Those, in my opinion, those locations should be called into the state. It's a state law. And if there's somebody who doesn't have a license, then you call the state and the state looks into it. Currently, there are 30 licensed short-term rentals in Richland County. 5 of those are within incorporated areas. They would fall outside of this purview. That means 25 short-term licensed rentals in Richland County. How many more than that? I don't know, but I can give you the list of the ones that there are, and we can go out, and everyone who isn't should be contacted to the state. Let the state deal with that.
But the other part of that is, I don't know if anybody has come in for a conditional use permit for having a short-term rental on their property in a zone township in Richland County.
You say they have not come in for CUPs?
Not since I've started, but that, I don't know if anybody's got new ones, but I don't know if they went back in the past. Anyone who's had one, have they come in and gotten a conditional use permit, or have they just?
Did you do a cross check?
Well, I can try, but like I said, I don't know. I don't know where a lot of these are. I'd have to go in and.
Right, but I don't know how our CUPs are filed or organized, but.
I can find out, well, I'd have to look. I don't know.
I can send you the list of all the ones that are currently licensed by the state, and then we could do an address cross check with that.
It's looking for the ones that haven't got a license with the state or haven't done the other, that I don't have the information. Those would be the harder ones to.
Sound like we have some more homework to do. Any more questions from the video? Yes.
Can I ask a member of the public a question? Are you okay with this?
Well, for me, I met with Darren as well, and Bob and that committee. I think we tried to understand the county side of it and just come to an agreement that we could all live with. I think the ones that are state licensed, are just trying to do the right thing. But like for me, mine is located in Rockbridge Township. I have 11 acres up there. I have my state permit, and Rockbridge issued my permit, and I'm sure then went on through the county.
Yeah.
But like some of the things for me that were a little foggy and gray were like the, no motorhomes, no, tent camping, things like that. When you have 11 acres, I know you have an issue with the septic, but if someone is in the house and someone else pulls in with a motorhome, I mean, they're not gonna be using my septic to unload. I mean, it won't be like Cousin Eddie, they're gonna come to town and, but, and I think the big thing for a lot of us is that, I consider we're ambassadors to the county. And, we promote a lot of, tourism here. We promote, for mine, I provide scones from Krispies. I give them passes to the winery. I give them, things to go to the theater. I give them things to go to the aquatic center. I mean, to promote other businesses. 3 of the people that have stayed with me have now bought land here, and they're gonna move here, most of them from the Chicago area, to live here permanently. So a lot of my business comes from referrals, and that in any business you have, referrals is the best kind of business you can have. So I think we're just trying to be fair back. It does concern me, though, that the people that have paid the fees, have paid the state fee, and then, now you're gonna change this, the people that have already paid those fees, now are you, putting that on them? We recently, they changed the room tax, and that was a thing that concerned a lot of us because we went from, most of the townships went from 0% to 8%, the highest they could charge. And that to me was a huge jump. And when you have other businesses or other counties that aren't charging anything, or you're now higher than Wisconsin Dells, what is the attraction for them to come here? I mean, why wouldn't they just stay in the Dells? I mean, they're gonna pay the, why have the drive time? Also, a lot of our business comes because of Spring Green. They're coming from Spring Green, but once they get here, they realize all we have to offer. So I just don't wanna, we wanna be fair, but we also, don't want, and we want everyone to be safe. That's the big thing. And the people that have gotten their state permits, it's really safety for them. But then you have to figure out a way that people that aren't licensed, how you're gonna manage that. I don't know how then you make that fair, because if they're keep running and they don't have all the permits that these people do, it really comes down to, I mean, all those requirements from the state are safety issues.
Mhm.
So, I mean, we're trying to do the best we can to, I'm blessed with wonderful neighbors. And if I think only one time we had a little group that wandered a little too far, and right away, we nipped it in the bud. And we haven't had any issues since then. So, I mean, I guess that's how we feel. So, but we are trying to understand and understand your point of view as well.
Did you have a chance to see the markup to the ordinance that Aaron,
Oh, yeah.
you saw? Okay.
Yes, I did.
Yep. And to one of your points, he was throwing out the idea that someone who's already done a CUP, that could possibly be a credit towards the license.
Right.
And to be able to talk about it, but things like that, we don't, you're right, we do not want to dampen the ability of people to be ambassadors for the county.
Right. But we also don't want, every house to go up as a,
Right.
And it not be following, I mean, a lot of you, I'm sure you heard about the fire that happened in another county, up north, and they had a lot of people in there, smoke detectors, none of that. So you don't want that happening either.
Again, last year when we started looking into this, one thing we found was that there are other counties that have an actual county ordinance in addition to the state licensing. And that's what made us think we should think about it. And by the way, some of them have much more than we put in ours. A lot of stuff in there that we felt was duplicative of the state or just too much. So just so you know, some perspective on it, we did not go to the full length some counties did.
And we totally agreed with that, that we thought you were being very fair. There were just some gray areas and things, you gotta tweak it. So that's what we were looking for. So that's why we came back with the idea to tweak it.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, well, just a statement, we have two, but, and they both have conditional use permits. Although one of them is not state licensed because one of our kids is living in it now and has been for quite some time. So people, to be honest, a lot of people didn't know that you were supposed to do the state licensing. And so we're new to it, she was new to it, and I know a lot of people are new to it that were like, oh crap, we didn't know. And so, I feel like the whole zoning thing, I worry about that, like what's outlined in there is a lot. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that somebody's gonna have to take care of and send out notices or, make sure everything's good. So what if you did like part of the conditional use maybe is show your state license. So we know that you have it. And then that way people know, oh shoot, I need to get a state license to do this.
And that is in our ordinance, that they required them to
Right,
show.
no, but what she's saying is if we don't do the short-term rental, just, what the conditions, get a conditional use permit is to have your state license.
Yeah. I mean, it made it a lot simpler for everybody. I mean, either way, I'm gonna do whatever I need to do, but also I want you to know that I don't have a state license for the one because we're not renting it out.
Yeah, you're using it as a house.
It's not a short-term rental.
No,
Right now it's not, but yeah. If we put it on again, hopefully the kids will go at some point. And then we'll get the state license, but yeah, I know, right?
I'd just like to say too, I think it's hard when you have the short-term rental, but I mean, for many years, we had many, many long-term rentals. And you almost have more problems with the long-term rental. And sometimes, we had to get the sheriff involved in there. So sometimes, just because you go over that 29 days, sometimes it can be a mess that way too, to neighbors and everything. So it's just a fine line. It's hard to.
And I think with a lot of people, it's like for us, the house our kids are living in, it was my mother-in-law's house and we didn't want to sell it. But we don't want to rent it out long-term to someone and not be able to see what's going on in there. And we never had any trouble. I mean, minor things that people maybe have done, but not like police being called or, nothing like that. And we love the short-term rentals just because we go in and clean it every time. And then we know we can inspect everything to know, that people might be wrecking it, or if we have bad ones, we just call the cops or whatever.
Well, two things. The markups that Darren helped gather, they got into it. I don't think they got onto the county website where people can look and see what's on our agenda. So we need to get that added so folks can look at it. And then second, like Bob mentioned, he sent me some questions, issues to think about. You guys haven't seen them yet. So I want to make sure those get sent to you guys so you can see the stuff that Bob raised. And since you've not seen them, I don't think we can take any action today. We need to continue to look into this and follow up on the questions that were raised by you folks here and the markups and the questions that Bob raised. And we're on our agenda again.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
It's
Yep.
included on the packet that's on the website.
Oh, it is on there now?
And this is the document that's on the screen, that's what you're.
It did get on.
It's on the website.
Oh,
It's
great.
part of the packet.
Good.
So that is there, and that's accessible by the public.
Good.
They go to the county's website, under the natural resources, links in the packet here, so folks.
Last week when I checked, it wasn't. You guys must have already got it on, so that's great. Cool.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I have a question. I didn't see it in ordinance. Is there a definition for short-term rentals?
there is, it's in the definitions, there actually is.
Okay, that's another can of worms.
the rental of a tourist rooming house for a period of 29 consecutive days or less. The rental of a tourist rooming house for a period of 29 consecutive days or less.
And the definition of a tourist rooming house is right next to that.
Yep.
I think that's one of the things that we wanted to put into the ordinance was the definition of what is considered short-term rental versus hotel motel versus anything else that's in there.
Yeah, so there is one for the, yeah, put in hotel or motel.
Right, so I think, again, all met, there was some conversation about clarity within the language of the document used. So,
And some of this is really how well is the state statute? Right.
which it does, I mean, it does define a hotel motel as 5 or more units.
But also short-term rental
Right.
versus tour home or whatever. But we should look at the definition section and make sure we feel like we've got.
Right, it should, I mean, if the county is gonna be regulating it, but we should also be clear about what they regulate.
I think also just as proprietors, our concern is to avoid redundancy, right? Like, we don't want to pay the CP and then also have to pay this license, and now we're also paying the state license. And if it needs to be in place, then it certainly should be. It's been pointed out, safety for guests, people coming into the county, paramount. We just want to make sure that we're not just sort of getting hit with this and then this and then this, especially, like I said, if there's redundancy within those documents and licenses. So the state license covers it, it seems like that should be an umbrella that will cover concerns within the county. To us.
If you've not already looked at the county ordinance draft, look at it, see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm just pointing out like that's a concern. Okay.
Okay, let's move on. We're not going to take any action today.
Thank you.
All right, we're at approval of extension educator contract.
So in your packet, you guys should have a copy of the 2025 contract between Richland County and Board of Regents University System. This is our annual contract for the extension educators. Just as a kind of a quick reminder of how that works. The two support staff in the office are county funded, county paid employees. The extension educators are state employees, and we work with the counties and we have a contract. The contract dollar amount is $99,560 for 4-H program educator, human development relationships educator, and the Richland County share of the 2 regional agriculture educators. The way that the fees are set up basically is there's a flat fee for an educator of $47,634 for 1 FTE. And you can see on page 2 of the contract, there's kind of a breakdown of the educator positions. So Richland County has a 1 FTE for the 4-H program educator, 0.8 for the human development, and then the combination of Beth and Anastasia, the county shares 0.5 FTE. So that's kind of where that goes. The state also realizes that, that these costs are significant to the county. So they have a $10,000 first educator discount. So by being part of it, they take off $10,000. So that's where it comes up with the $99,560. The $99,560 is a budget item in our budget that's been approved. So that's the educator services, our educator contract line item. As far as the contract itself for this year, the only thing that really changed that's versus what's been over the last few years is we added a little bit of the cybersecurity provision. And this is really saying, hey, we know we share some overlapping IT resources. If you have a breach that might be affecting us, let us know. And if we have a breach that might be affecting you, we'll let you know. So that's really the only addition that's been added in there. And I think this county, better than most, can understand how sometimes cybersecurity breach can work. But it just basically says, hey, if we get compromised, and it could be a possibility, we're going to let you know. If you guys get compromised, and there's a possibility that the universities might be compromised, please let us know. So it's pretty simple. So the contract itself is the one I do need approval from the committee for today. what came with that then, when I was talking to Candace, so new this year with extension in the counties association, there was some concerns from some counties. Wanting to make that partnership document that, if you guys remember, I handed that out to you the first month we met, and I kind of did this is the general rules of extension. Here's your roles as county board members. Here's the document that goes with that. So there's a few counties that were really wanting to put something a little more formal together. So they created a memorandum of understanding, kind of really outlining in a more formal manner what those roles and responsibilities are. So this was worked through with Extension, and the Wisconsin Counties Association has a Extension subcommittee. So the subcommittee and DW Extension people worked through this, came up with a memorandum of understanding. And as you look through there, it talks about what are the roles of Extension, the roles of the educators, roles of support staff, the AED, where our joint responsibilities are, county responsibilities. So with that, this document then became an optional document for counties that wish to go into the memorandum of understanding. So this one is kind of up to you guys if you want to more formalize the relationship that we've had. And so I just kind of brought both of these documents here with you today to kind of look over, ask a lot of questions, and forward from there. So, yeah, Steve.
Yeah, my first question. So the MOU, would that be someone from our committee, or would they be Candace, our administrator? Who would sign it?
So, yeah, by the looks of this, it would be a representative of the county, so that would be Candace. Candace would then return this back to me, and then I would put it through our signatory system, same as the county. So I would go through the board of regents, and then it would also be signed by the board of regents, then returned back to you guys as the final copy.
So in addition to us reviewing it, making sure we realize what our responsibilities are, which is section 3 in that MOU. We need, make sure Candace has looked at it, that she's comfortable with it, then sign it. But do you guys have any questions on it? Comments on the MOU? Nobody?
Do we hear from Candace? I wonder if she can weigh in.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Candace, do you have any questions or comments on the extension MOU?
She's having microphone trouble.
What's that?
She was having microphone trouble.
Oh. Well, we do need a motion at this time to approve the contract. Right. And any further discussion on approving the contract extension? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Sorry, I missed your second motion.
Go.
Put something on the board, like, say, just as I.
Oh. She says she doesn't want to go. I don't know if you guys agree, this Candace says I cannot get my microphone or if the executive committee has concerns regarding licensing, if they want certain that they would be in favor of removing. Well.
Let's talk about the short-term rental.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That was quite a few minutes. 10:28.
No.
All right. Well, we didn't do anything with the STR, so that's still okay. Okay. All right. Well, we'll check with her later on the interview, make sure she's good with what she sees there. Okay, so let's move on to. Oh, you're on.
I'm on.
Could you maybe explain to like, these have not been through this part of the process?
Sure.
These
Where we're at this point in time is this committee that gets to set commodity prices for the crops. My responsibility in this to you is to give you the local prices where farmers could be selling these crops.
so that it's kind of a fair price they're getting back for what they've lost due to the damage. So you got this sheet in your packet. It's for corn, soybeans, alfalfa hay, and organic corn. Those are the crops that I've assessed on different farms this year within the county. And these are the prices that are average prices, basically, you know, like in Boscobel at the elevator there, on the river, so place in Fenimore, just all as close as I can get to our county where these farmers could be selling these crops. We're getting a pretty fair price right now where it stands. And we need to approve these prices, then I do the loss factor for what these farmers have lost in my appraisals and put these prices to that amount so that they then know what they'll be compensated. And then in January, I'll be back before the committee to approve those claims because the farmer will have then signed off that he agrees with that I did a proper job of appraising and the price is fair to them. So that's done, you approve that, that goes to DNR. They then send a check to those farmers. Any questions more on that?
Yeah, how much did you do last year? How many claims or how much money?
Last year, I think we had 4 in Richland County that went for the full program of claims. And the total amount, Richland County would have been somewhere around $40,000.
But some people, he goes out and assesses, and they decide instead of doing that, they're gonna do the abatement part, which is
Right.
bringing people in to harvest antlerless deer.
Right. They can get out of season tags to shoot antlerless deer during the growing season. They also have to do it to get this claim. They're required to shoot a certain amount of deer by September 15th. If they don't make that requirement, they're not going to get paid. It's that simple.
That's something that,
Yeah,
and that's something the committee decided about 15 years ago or more.
at least 15 years ago.
And so I'm the one that signs off on saying that they've met their requirement for hunting. And I don't sign unless they've made the requirement for hunting.
Yeah. So yeah, it's got some strict standards that we try to say, yes, you're gonna try to stop for damage, we're not gonna just pay you. And so that's steps. And then there's the majority of farmers now are involved in the program are not going for a claim. They're just getting the tags to shoot deer. And that's a different part of the program where they are not listed as public hunting. They can just get tags to shoot antlerless deer out of season. And I think we've got 14 people counting added this week.
And how many deer do they shoot for?
Basically, DNR gets to set that. I make the recommendation that they get tags. Most cases, it's somewhere between 5 and 10 tags, but they can get more. That's the required amount that they have to do. Don't think anyone has gotten more tags in Richland County this year than what they are prescribed. Some counties, some farmers do. Get quite a few tags. So.
Well, I did my share yesterday. Just one. But we need a motion and a second to approve these rates. So McGill moves. Second. Also seconds. And so any further questions or discussions? I guess I was going to ask, what do you use for proof?
They actually have to turn in, they have to register, the deer have to be registered.
Just like you do with your deer you did yesterday, each farmer's, they're given a back tag. They have to have a back tag by the farmer.
Okay.
That they've been given from DNR to wear when they're on the property.
So they still wear theirs?
They have to wear that tag to do this. And they're required to blaze orange all out of season anytime. And they then, the hunter has to then register that deer, which that tag is associated to that farmer. And so there's a good tracking system involved there where they have to call in and register.
Yep.
Okay. All right. All those in favor of these rates as presented, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Okay, and the next thing on our agenda, which is your next number on the list, is we have to set an 80% harvest date for the county. This is so that we can't have farmers saying, well, you know, it's kind of wet and yucky now. I have corn up on the ridge. I'm just gonna leave it and let the deer eat it and they'll pay me for it. So we go at the point when 80% of the crop has been harvested in the county, then at that point, those claims cannot be brought forward anymore. And so my recommendation for this year, it could be any time after the 12th of November. That was kind of when we got done with the farmers in the program. I got done assessing the damage at that point. Standard is usually around Thanksgiving, but this year the crops got out very quick.
It was pretty dry.
It was dry and good, beautiful weather.
Yeah.
So my recommendation is anytime after the 12th of November.
All right, so I guess we need approval on this one?
You set a date.
We have to set a date.
All right.
Well, November 13th.
Okay. How about a second then?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, it's for Keith. All those in favor of that date, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
All right, that's what I needed, unless you guys have any further questions.
I was just curious how the dates compare to the counties further north. I mean, the weather's been really dry in this area, but.
Right. As far as when that last date will get set.
Yeah.
Up in Russ County, and 4 years ago, they set it at January 2nd.
Really?
Yes, because they had a really wet season
Okay.
and they couldn't get the crops out.
Yes.
And so they had to go that long because the county had not had that much harvest done. That's why it's by county setting that date. It's not a state
Yeah.
issue.
And they started that, I don't know how many years ago it was, there was people coming in after everybody else had their, and they had a field that was too wet or whatever, and they wanted damage in January, February, and it's like, well, yeah, the other ones got them out, you could have figured a way, unfortunately, that's.
Yeah, and no one has really bought that, you know, it's there, so I can say when they call, you know, they're calling and say, can you come appraise this? No, it's past our date of 80%. It's just a security bidder, because we did have issues 25 years ago in the program where farmers were calling in the springtime and saying, you know, my corn is all gone and you just paid for it. Sorry.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Yep. All right. What's next?
The land information grants.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Every year, the county applies for the land information grant. We're given so much, they tell us how much money we're gonna get, we just have to fill it up, but I have to still take the grant. We get $1,000 for training, 20,000 for strategic initiative, which is like parcel mapping, corners, if, you know, setting corners and stuff. There's various things that fall under that category. And then this year, for 2025, it's $78,368 for various projects listed in our upcoming land information plan that we're finalizing. We finalized in December. So some of the projects we're looking at is under that would be like looking at doing some LiDAR enhancements. LiDAR is a special flyover they did, so it shows topography. And we saw a demonstration on it, and yeah, we have LiDAR data, but we can't, not very in a usable form. So we're working on their 2024 and 2025 grant to upgrade so we can actually use it efficiently. This grant would need to be spent, there's no county match, and this grant would need to be spent by the December 31st, 2026. So we get it, we have about 1.5 years to use the grant.
So we need a motion and a second to approve going for the grant. Nate on the motion. Second, oh, and Craig on the second. I meant to ask earlier, the extension, does that match what you turned in for budget with Candace? Is that that number, the 99,000?
The extension, or I don't do, you talking about,
Which the 99,000 for
Yeah,
the
I
contract?
was shifting gears back.
yes, that's his.
Yeah, the contract has the line item number that we put in the budget.
Right, but in terms of the county budget.
That'd be him.
Okay,
Right.
sorry. You're right.
I don't do extensions. I don't need any more.
But then the same question for this one is what I was getting at.
I think, I don't remember what's in the budget. I don't remember. I think we put a dollar amount in when we sent it in, because we didn't have these dollar amounts when we submitted it
Okay,
originally.
I just want to put my request in, see if you can get that layer with watersheds.
That's, yeah, we'll have to, yeah, it may not be this company, it'd be maybe the 26 grand, but yeah, we're working on it, or something falls through on one of our other. We're finishing up our 2023 grant, which is due at the end of December. We have to have money spent by the end of December. 2024 grant is the end of December of this coming year. And then, yeah, so if we have money, we can amend the grants.
All right, so anything else on this one?
Yes, good question. The LiDAR package that we're getting, is that is this an update, latest version, and is it available for the public?
That's something will have to be decided right now. The 2024 grant included money for the orthophotography project, which was approved. Actually, we're going to be paying through it to the NG 911 grant. So the money we had to set aside for that, some of it will be going towards this LiDAR enhancement to allow us to better use the product. That's already was flown in 2021, be able to use it better. And then, and some other things that we need to do. So we're going to use the 2024 grant and the 2025 grant to get those. And one of the things in this LiDAR enhancement eventually will be an online product. And that'll be up to what the county wants to decide. Some counties have let it go to the public, be able to view some of the things. The one that we looked at, the guy came last week and showed us, is Pierce County, and theirs is not available to the public. So that'll be a decision that county will have to decide whether they want to do that.
Yes, I have a question. How often do you feel like you should do an aerial update?
I would say right now we're on a 5-year schedule. Some counties are going to 3-year, but I think some of those counties are the ones that have more structures going, more building. We do have things that'd be handy. It's handy to go through and say, oh, somebody built something there. What? And then we go back and look at it. But, it's every 5 years is okay. It's a cost. It's like $100,000 to do those flyovers. Yeah. So that it's the cost thing too for counties.
All right, so I lost track. We did get a motion on this. We did, so we just need to vote. Okay. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay, so we going for that.
When was the aerial last updated anyway?
2020. So it'll be flown this coming, but it, became available to us like in 2021. It takes to make the corrections and, the earth corrections and stuff. So it'll probably be available to us in like sometime in 26, when the 2025 flyover.
Okay, so we're ready for number 14 on the agenda?
I don't know if you want to do that, the Board of Adjustments. My understanding, it's kind of the appeal committee to make for decisions being made. But the big one is like if they come in for a building permit, a land use permit, and things don't meet the ordinance. Say setback from the road. They want to build a building and setback from the road, a setback from property boundaries. What are some other, building a building that's too big for the size. Building, you know, R1 and R2, you can have two buildings, the main structure, the house, and another structure. If you want to build a third one, then you have to go to the Board of Adjustments for a variance. Am I saying it right?
I wanted to get on the agenda because I didn't understand whether our committee had a role in that process. We don't. So it goes to you guys first, then to this board to be resolved, and we're not involved. I didn't know that until I started looking into it. I want to make sure you guys are aware what that board is and the fact that they're doing things having to do with zoning, but we're not in that loop.
Right now, it's currently being changed. It was a 7-person committee. And it got to the point, it got down to 3 people, and these 3 people have been on there for 20 to 30 years because nobody else wants to do it. So Candace is working on switching it to members who are on county board, who are not on this committee. So currently it's Tom McGlynn, been on there forever. Alan Ripshin, and Randy Himes. They've all been on 20 to 30 years. And the county board members that just started on are Steve Williamson and Gary Manning, I think, right? Yeah. And so she's gonna try to split up the terms so that, you know.
So this is just an information piece. That's all. Okay, so correspondence, do we have anything? No.
Do we want to talk about? No, I know we don't have any correspondence.
Your agenda items from the committee. Anything you want to get on the agenda?
Short-term rentals.
Yeah, we work on that for sure.
One thing, Steve and I and Katrina talked this morning. We'd like to put the zoning ordinance eventually. I don't know, January's time, but it would be nice to have, like, I and whoever we hire, and Steve and maybe one other person from this committee to start kind of going through the zoning ordinance and pick out things. And I'd like to mail each of you. I'm not gonna email it to you. I may mail you because it's easier to write the copy of the ordinance, zoning ordinance. You guys yourselves can go through it as a layperson, looking through it and going, okay, this doesn't make sense. So it'll help us in the not recreation, but the updating of it, just making some clarifications. Because some things are very, it's confusing. It's how do you, classic, she had one that came in and she wasn't arguing with them. It was just like, it was a setback from roads. And what is the primary structure? And what, and figure out what that distance is.
But when I was assigned to chair, I felt more compelled to really start trying to understand the ordinance. That's when I realized how much I didn't understand. And so I'm asking if any of you feel like you want to try to drill down and get a better handle on it. I'd be appreciative if someone else would be willing to sit and go through that with them as we look at the markups and make it a better document. So be thinking about that. Hopefully one of you will decide you want to really learn what the ordinance has in it.
Yeah, and I think maybe it could be just a discussion. No action, but discussion.
Right.
Next agenda of the zoning ordinance. Like I said, we'll get a physical copy, so you can actually write on it and look through it and see things that may or may not make sense to you. We just need some clarification on some of the things, whether it's a definition that needs to be in there differently, or
looking at a couple other counties ordinances might be an interesting. If they're a similar county to us where it's a mix of ag and recreation kind of properties and similar population. See what others have done. Anything else? Okay. Okay, so that, we'll do that at some point. You think in January we ready?
Well, I think we can bring it in as maybe discussion.
Okay,
If something you see that, like I said, I'd like to do it like after this meeting, later this week or early next week, send it out to you. And before next meeting, maybe kind of go through it and then maybe just discussion and then maybe just saying, okay, hey, I'd like to sit on, Steve and I, and by then we'll have somebody starting.
that's true. That's a variable we can't predict just yet.
But if, at least I and Steve and maybe one other person could actually kind of go through it and then have something to present to the committee in January or February, probably.
I guess the only other thing before we adjourn, I've seen a lot of nice new initiatives and fresh eyes this year. Thank you, Peter, for the time you've been here. And hopefully we'll find a candidate that's doing that same kind of thing for us. Okay. And there are cupcakes over here after we adjourn, so. Need a motion to adjourn. Mr. Mickey, all those in favor of adjourning, say aye. Aye. Okay.
Did you make cupcakes?